most of the major changes that we have seen in the world have not come from guns, they've come from mics.
Ooh, hey.
And so when I say don't drop the mic, that is in lieu of picking up the gun.
Yeah.
If you want to bring about change, the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Wow.
It's not in the hand, it's in the tongue. Dr. King changed the world with the microphone. And I start out talking in the book about the huge impact that it might. Nelson Mandela, what he said changed the world. Mahatma Gandhi, what he said changed the world. When you look at people who really have influence, it's not power like a gun, it's influence like a mic. And whoever has the mic has great responsibility, great pressure, great influence, and we have to understand that, and we have to weld it, not like it's a gig, not like it's a job, and not merely as if it were a calling. It's beyond even a calling. When God gives you influence inside and out, it's an opportunity.
Wow.
To speak peace to situations, to bring reconciliation to situations, to explain things to people in a language that they can understand. I have been really effective, I think, at explaining things to people who have not had shared experiences so that they could have a little deeper insight into where this emotion is coming from. After 40-some years of counseling people, I have learned that a lot of times we have emotions for which we do not have language.
Wow.
Either because we've not been given permission all of our lives to emote our feelings in a language that causes the hearer to understand where we're coming from. And so sometimes we subvert the opportunity and stop talking. Sometimes we get angry with people for not understanding things that we can't articulate. And so when it comes to communicating facts, especially with men, we do that very well, but communicating feelings, sometimes we don't always do that as proficiently, whether we're public speakers or not. I've had a global perspective of communication from a lot of different areas, and all of that informs the way in which I articulate a thought, an idea, or a concept, and what I bring to the table when I talk. And I think that's true of everybody.
Okay. I'm going to jump to the middle of the book and start with this planning for spontaneity, okay? So I think everyone realizes, because spontaneity is kind of a dual-edged sword. It either endears you to an audience or you kind of lose them. It's either going to be a moment. Spontaneity is good and bad. You use the the scenario here of, you know, a manger scene and donkeys coming down and being a part of this illustration of the, you know, moment of Jesus' birth. But what if one of the donkeys relieves himself? And yeah, okay. So ultimately, spontaneity, which is the key to the way we're doing this interview.
Right.
You're validating it in a very way, but it's a little, let's say, risky.
It's risky. I mean, every interview, when you sit down across the table from any interviewer, you don't really know how it's going to go, and you have to be spontaneous. You have to be able to think quickly on your feet and try to give your best answer. When you are speaking on a stage, there is the infusion of the Holy Spirit that sometimes directs you a little bit differently than what you had worked out on paper. And people who are not flexible don't always do well. Even if you're in a boardroom or you're a comedian and you're up telling jokes and a heckler comes into the room, or the donkey relieves himself, whatever happens, you have to be able to manage the unexpected.
Sometimes it's both.
Yeah, you have to be able to respond quickly and work that into your situation and make it applicable, and never lose control of the moment and give the moment over to the heckler or to the donkey or to the situation, and to not acknowledge it, to be so rigid that you can't laugh, that you can't be yourself. It's just not a very good thing to do. And I think that people who think very linear have trouble sometimes being engaging, especially with what we just went through with COVID, and everybody was watching online, it made everybody have to do television in a way that was frightening for some people because they are so dependent on response from the crowd.
Right. So can you go back into the memory banks of T.D. Jakes Ministries and find a moment that you needed to rely on some spontaneity in regard to something? Have you ever had a wardrobe malfunction or anything like that?
Oddly enough.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
all the TVs are turning to TBN right now.
Yeah. Oddly, it's funny you should mention that. I just taught Bible class Wednesday night, and my pants were a little bit, I've dropped a little bit of weight, and my pants were a little bit big. So I sat in the chair the whole time I was teaching, almost the whole time. Because I was afraid when I got up, I could feel them kind of slide. And after I tugged them a couple of times, I decided to just sit there and do the whole thing.
Or we might have had a wardrobe malfunction.
Oh, it would have been bad. It would have been really bad. And it's so funny, though. You have to be flexible. And you have to be able to respond. And you have to wear something that you feel comfortable in. And this was a little too comfortable. But those sorts of things happen. Things that people never realize why you did what you did. And I've had to work them into an illustration. I preached on Sunday morning from a chair after a back surgery and preached the whole message from a chair. You can't be limited in the way in which you do things because what works in one setting doesn't work in another.
Take us into a moment where this was something that made it into your legacy piece book. Spontaneity must mean something to you because you make it a pretty good little piece in here.
Well, the thing about it is there are the things that the Holy Spirit gives you when you're preaching that you wrote and you intended to say. And then there are the things that are born right in the moment, just literally in that moment. And being able to respond in that moment and not resist the wooing of the Holy Spirit to move off script may be operating in the gifts. It may be adding a line or seeing a revelation that you didn't even plan to see. And what makes our preaching very unique is that we do have that influence of the Holy Spirit that impacts the way in which we deliver a word or a message.
At TBN, our mission is to use every available means to reach as many individuals and families as possible with the life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for helping make the gospel of grace go around the world.
Without you, we couldn't do it. God bless you.